49ers, Rams, week 18 in Los Angeles. You know, the Niners, last time they were in LA, even if it was a preseason game, against Chargers, they showed out. And even the last time where they were playing the Rams in LA in the Coliseum in 2019, they showed out. It was pretty much a 50-50 split of Rams fans and Niners fans in LA. So I imagine the same thing is going to happen here. And what better way to have a Rams and Niners game with the one and only Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on the call. Yeah, that's real Niners football right there. So anyway, you know, this is a pretty much big matchup for both teams right here. This is kind of like the prelude to the playoffs. You know, it's like I don't know, I guess you could call it the WrestleMania kickoff to the WrestleMania. I guess you could call it that. Because for the Niners, it's win or go home. For the Rams, you win, you get the NFC West. So both teams are playing for something here in this matchup. Because if the Niners don't win here, the Saints have an opportunity to nab their playoff spot. And if the Rams don't win here, well, the Cardinals have an opportunity at home to clinch the division over the Seahawks. So a lot on the line in this week 18, this season finale matchup in Los Angeles. Now, last week, you know, for the 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo did not play after suffering a thumb injury in week 16 in Tennessee against the Titans. So Kyle Shanahan was forced to start his rookie quarterback in Trey Lance against the Houston Texans. So despite a sluggish first half, Kyle Shanahan finally got Trey Lance comfortable, and Lance got comfortable, airing it out, showcasing his arm talent, as he led his team to a 23-7 victory. And Trey Lance got his first NFL victory in relief of Jimmy G. Unfortunately, though, the Niners had an opportunity to clinch a playoff spot, but the Panthers and Sam Darnold are so bad at this point of the season that the Saints were able to beat them unconvincingly. The Saints themselves are not a good offense at the moment. So the Niners couldn't clinch their delusional playoff spot and now have to win in LA to fend off the Saints. Meanwhile, for the Rams, they rallied back from a 19-7 fourth quarter deficit to defeat the beaten up Baltimore Ravens in their last road trip of the season. And this was despite Matthew Stafford having a multi-turnover game again. So this is a little concerning for the Rams heading into the postseason. So both of these teams, as NFC West rivals, they met back in Week 10 on Monday Night Football in a game where I predicted it was going to be a massacre because the Rams just added Odell Beckham Jr., even though they lost their other receiver, Robert Woods, for the season. And, you know, they had all the momentum going for them, despite a week ago, during that time, they lost to the Tennessee Titans, and they were angry as hell to take some of that anger and frustration on the beaten up 49ers. But the massacre went the other way around. You know, for a team that went 3-5 since week 2, and they only beat the Bears. Yes, Bears football in week 8. A beatdown occurred by the 49ers committing that massacre on the LA Rams at home in week 10, and that marked the beginning of their second half turnaround in a game that saw a total team effort, that saw the 49ers defense completely dismantle Matthew Stafford, and the offense completely burn Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey with short dink and dunk throws by Jimmy Garoppolo and their run first, ball control, ball hogging offense, as they went on to beat the Rams 31-10. So yeah, it was their beginning of their little push to a delusional backdoor appearance into the playoffs. Now again, I've been saying this for weeks. If they make the playoffs, they better be on Nickelodeon. I don't want you all complaining about, why are they getting smashed on Nickelodeon? Well, like, you all wanted this. And this is going to be the little like capper on the top. Jimmy G getting the MVP if they make the postseason and they're on Nickelodeon. So for the LA Rams, after that week 11 matchup, they took the bye in week 11. After that Monday night matchup, the Rams went on to lose their next matchup against the Green Bay Packers. Now that kind of turned out to be a little costly loss for the Rams, and Matthew Stafford had another game-changing pick six in that game, but that was the last game they would lose for the time being, because they wanted to win the rest of their games leading up to this matchup, including the ones against the Jaguars, Arizona, Seahawks, and the Vikings. So they pretty much like went on a little winning streak of sorts against, I guess you could say, a bunch of like either beating up teams or, like, if I guess for the most part in terms of Arizona, like a little slumpy teams. But the biggest concern, despite them on this winning streak, is how Matthew Stafford has been turning the ball over. He's been turning it over so consistently that he's been averaging 2 interceptions per game since week 15. Now, they've been able to overcome this issue, but it can become a bigger problem come playoff time. But nonetheless, they've been able to overcome that, and get these victories. But again, these are issues that the Rams can face if they face like a Tampa or a Dallas come playoff time. Now, receiver Cooper Kupp has been having an incredible season. He's been having a much better season with Matthew Stafford than he's ever had with Jared Goff. Now, he's been the offensive MVP for the Rams, and he's pretty much been Stafford's go-to receiver. And Odell Beckham Jr., since week 10, in that first matchup against the 49ers, he's slowly integrating himself into this team. He's been getting much better. And he's been not as targeted as Cooper Kupp, but when he's targeted, he reaps the benefits from Matthew Stafford. So, and the offense has been playing pretty well. He's playing pretty well. Now, the defense has been solid as well. Aaron Donald and Von Miller had pretty much been a good 1-2 punch for the pass rush. Jalen Ramsey has pretty much been a good lockdown corner against opposing receivers. Unfortunately, the rest of the secondary has been so-so against opposing offenses. So that's a kind of a point of attack for the Niners in this game. Again, recently, the Rams completed a 2-game road trip. They beat the Vikings 30-23 in a turnover fest by Matt Stafford and Kirk Cousins in Week 16. And they beat the Lamar Jackson-less Ravens last week in Week 17, 2019, where Odell Beckham scored the game-winning touchdown with very few seconds left. So meanwhile, for the 49ers, since that Week 10 victory against the Rams in prime time, they went on their own winning streak of sorts. They went on to win 5 of 7. They went on a 5-2 streak leading up to this last game in Los Angeles. They would lose winnable games to the Seahawks and the Titans, but they would still get critical victories during this span over the Minnesota Vikings, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Atlanta Falcons, to keep their delusional playoff hopes alive. Week 17, though, faced a big task for them. Even though it was, yes, the 4-11 at the time, Houston Texans, now 4-12, because you didn't have Jimmy Garoppolo. He suffered a right thumb fracture in the Titans game. And Kyle Shanahan, again, forced to start Trey Lance. So the entire offense was kind of like in a flux. It was kind of like a repeat performance of Week 5 with Trey Lance under center. But once Kyle Shanahan dialed up the playbook, he began to take off some of the training wheels for Trey Lance. Trey Lance began to do miles better when the play call started center around the play action, him rolling out of the pocket to showcase his arm talent. So it wasn't just Trey Lance that did well in this game. The defense did well against a middling yet kind of game Texans offense. But eventually, the Texans offense began to falter as the game progressed, and Niners were able to pull away 23-7. So, it was a good win, but despite it, the Niners are facing a little bit of adversity heading into this game. So, aside from the QB question, much of their corners are on the COVID reserve list, including K'Wan Williams, Ambry Thomas, Dante Johnson, and Diomandre Lenoir. So it remains unclear if they're going to be able to clear COVID protocols by Sunday. If they do, great. If they don't, you're kind of fucked. So Josh Norman and some other guy from the practice squad is going to be starting and probably the only guys playing against Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham. Yeah, a recipe for disaster in the season finale. Yikes. And if they don't get Emmanuel Mosley back off IR, if they don't activate him for the season finale, even worse for them. So you have things to figure out on the COVID reserve list. You have to figure out if any of those guys. Oh, Jimmy Ward is also on the COVID reserve list, so that's great. So yeah, you have things to figure out. If any of those guys that I mentioned, Williams, Thomas, Johnson, Lenoir, Jimmy Ward, are they going to clear the COVID list and play on Sunday? Hopefully they will. But if they don't, they're kind of fucked. Actually, they are pretty fucked. But the biggest question is, who's going to start at quarterback? Jimmy Garoppolo, he couldn't play on Sunday against the Texans because of that right thumb fracture. And I guess the reports of him needing surgery were kind of... I'm not sure if they were overblown, but if they are, then what the fuck are they reporting? But I guess he's healthy enough to start this game. But the question is, will Kyle Shanahan be willing enough to do it? So if he's not, then he has to turn to Trey Lance in what will be a pseudo playoff game. So it's going to be on Kyle Shanahan to chance it with either a 50-50 Jimmy Garoppolo or a still unproven Trey Lance for this playoff caliber game. But his choice is going to be a risky one either way. So some keys to victory for both teams. For the Rams, Matt Stafford, it's simple. You got to prevent himself. He's got to prevent himself from having a turnover bonanza against a 49ers defense, whether it's against the starters or a practice squad filled secondary. Thing is, for Stafford, he's been averaging too many turnovers by this point, and if he continues to do so against a San Francisco team trotting out, whether it's the starters or this COVID reserve team, it's gonna keep San Francisco in the game. It's gonna continue to bite the Rams in the ass. If Josh Norman is gonna be starting this game, and if he does, oh boy, the Rams are gonna attack that his side of the secondary. Again, we don't know if Dante Johnson is gonna play. Actually, Johnson was not on the second. Correct me on this. He actually was not placed on the COVID reserve list. He actually suffered a stinger. Sorry about that. But if he doesn't play in this game, Josh Norman will play, sadly. So if he starts this game, despite being benched, the Rams, they should exploit this big ass weakness heavily. And the pass rush, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, they should absolutely expose the Niners' right side of the offensive line. Daniel Brunskill, not good. Tom Compton, not good. This way, it'll make Jimmy G or whoever's starting rattled, force them out of the pocket, or make a rash decision, or take a sack, or throw an interception. Make whoever's starting at QB rattled. For the 49ers, the receiving game has to fully support whoever's going to be the starting quarterback. Last time out, Jimmy G, digging and dunking to just about everybody. It can be the same way if he starts. If it's Trey Lance, every receiver needs to run the route, get wide open. Trey Lance has to help himself out by finding the open man, like scanning the field, not just locking onto, let's say, George Kittle, for example. He has to help himself, and the receivers have to help him. It has to be a two-way street. in this game. For the receivers, though, they got to space out from the Rams secondary, especially Jalen Ramsey, because he's like a headhunter in that defense. Kyle Shanahan, if Trey Lance starts this game, he absolutely cannot and should not turn Trey Lance into Lamar Jackson in this kind of spot, because for how much I think the Niners exposed the Rams the last time out, the Rams front four, their pass rush is still pretty good. It's still pretty good. More ruthless than the Houston Texans. Trying to design runs for Trey in this game like he's Lamar Jackson isn't going to work. It actually could get him hurt in this game. So if Trey Lance, again, is starting this game, do not design runs for him, please. Obviously, if you're going to use the QB sneak, sure, but do not do anything Lamar Jackson-esque. If Jimmy G is starting this game, you got to get the ball out quicker. He's not just dealing with the pass rush. He has to know from snap one, even if your offensive line is playing well, you got to get the ball out of your hands quicker. You got to dig it and dunk it very quickly. So he's got to do all he can. He's got to do all he can to get it out quickly to his receivers. And like always, they take care of the rest. Last but not least, the pass rush has got to force more turnovers out of Matthew Stafford. The strategy for offensive lines as of late has been to cover Nick Bosa by double or triple covering him. So it's up to guys like Arden Key, Jordan Willis, or Eric Armstead to generate upfront pressure onto Matthew Stafford. Get into his face early and force him into turnovers or force him into a sack. Either way, get some pressure, get some sacks, get some turnovers, get some negative plays out of the Rams. So overall, this is a playoff caliber game for both teams. Niners, it's win or go home. For the Rams, you got to win the division or you're playing on the road. So either way, this is a big spot for both of these teams. And I got to be honest with you. For as much as I think the Niners should be able to win, I don't think they can win this because of all the uncertainty that's happening with this team, with the COVID reserve list and who's going to be starting at quarterback, and for how game LA is and how much healthier they're going to be heading into this game, and also because I don't want the Niners to backdoor into the playoffs just to get smashed in the first round. I'm going with the Rams. It's better for the 49ers to not make the playoffs, get their offseason started, and again, the primary goal for any team in the season is to make the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, not to backdoor your way into playoffs like the Chicago Bears did last season and win an MVP in Mitchell Trubisky did. But anyway, it's not the primary goal. It's the primary goal is not to backdoor your way into the playoffs onto Nickelodeon and win a slime-filled MVP award. It's to win a Super Bowl. So whether it's Jimmy G or Trey Lance starting out there, the Niners, I guess I could give them a little credit. We're trying to make this delusional backdoor push into the playoffs. But sorry to all the Niners and all the Niners fans out there. This is coming from a realistic and true. True can be subjective again, but this is as subjective as it gets. These delusions end here. These delusions, all the hope, all the craziness about a playoff push, only to get smashed. It ends here, and it's for the better. It is for the better. So, if the starters for the secondary don't show up here, the Niners are clearly getting smashed here by Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham and Van Jefferson and pretty much just about everybody. But even if they do start here, they won't get as shredded. But I think the Rams is still just as good on their best day. Now, if Matthew Stafford's going to take care of the football and not commit any turnovers, and the Rams play lights out, well, they'll put out all the lights on the 49ers and their delusional playoff hopes while on their way to clinching the NFC West. So the 49ers, their backdoor hopes into trying to get into the playoffs, I'm sorry, it ends here on Sunday. If it doesn't, well, oh man, you're gonna hear it from me. You are gonna hear it from me. And I'm gonna say right now, I demand the NFL put the Niners playoff game, if they get in, on Nickelodeon and CBS on the 1:40 time slot on Sunday, wherever the Nickelodeon game is gonna be on, because I want Jimmy G to win that MVP. He better win that MVP if the Niners make the playoffs and get smashed. He better.